It's interesting because a lot of people, they know what good customer service looks like because they've had it when they go and stay at a nice hotel or a nice restaurant. But weirdly, they don't kind of put that in their business. And it's funny because I'm back here in our former hotel and I wanted to record a few videos where I kind of, because it's interesting coming back now and seeing the lens through what I do with building brands and helping freelancers and that kind of thing, and seeing it and being reminded of what we did really well here. And I wanted to sort of create a few videos just to talk through that and to kind of give you takeaways and things that are easy to learn. And what I'll do is I'll probably walk around and sort of give examples, but this is all about how to think like a hotel. The thing that's interesting, like I said in the beginning, is that everyone knows what good customer service is and they know what bad customer service is. Because when you stay at a really good hotel, it's really enjoyable and instinctively you want to come back. It makes complete sense. You've been treated really well. That's not easy to find, so you want to go back. But what I found, which is even true of myself sometimes, is there is like a disconnection between often what we do in our industry and then how we like to be treated when we have that experience with other customers. And I was helping a group of people and I was sort of saying, if you think like a hotel, then you will create a customer experience sort of so good that the customers will want to keep coming back to you. Because I genuinely believe that it's no one's fault, but it kind of the advantage of technology is that it makes you more efficient. But I sometimes think that sometimes there is the temptation to use that efficiency to do other things. And I think what I've noticed is there is an opportunity there where if you've got efficiency that frees you up, I think that then you can take that extra time and strategically put that in places where that face time is going to give you extra value and is going to have kind of a real impact in a way that a lot of people wouldn't normally do it. And as I said, for me, the hotel lens is the easiest way to teach that to people. So the first kind of video I wanted to talk about was just this concept in general, and then I'll break down various principles and you can kind of see what works for you and give it a go in your business. But I think the thing that struck me as the most interesting is if we go to, say, a restaurant and 3 things or more go wrong, we won't come back. But we won't tell them that we didn't enjoy it. When they ask how was the meal, you go, yeah, everything was great, and then we'll never come back. And you think from a business point of view, that's the worst scenario, because at least if you know what's going wrong, you can fix it. But if nobody tells you, then you'll never know. And so you're working so hard to get the customers in the door that actually just kind of little things that are being overlooked are completely ruining that experience. And all of that hard work is undone. And I'm talking about small things such as, their name, you get their name wrong when they arrive, or they made a booking but it's not in the system, or you show them to a table and forget they were there, or maybe there's too long a gap between taking their order and checking in on them, or maybe the table next to them gets the food before them even though they arrived later, or when the food comes it's wrong and they haven't taken into consideration your allergy problem, or whatever, they didn't bring the bill quick enough. And these that are funny because these are small little things. But what happens is, like, cumulatively, they build up. And what they kind of silently communicate is a couple of things. One is, we're not important, or we're not a priority because you're not really caring for us. And they build this narrative. So like when we feel slighted, we start a narrative in our head of like, what's going on? Like, why are they ignoring us? Or like, why are we taking so long? Like, do they not like us? And it is this weird... It's not paranoid, it's just really natural. It's like, well, look, an example would be someone sends you a text. Sorry, you send a text to someone and they don't reply. And you're wondering why they're not going to reply. And if they've seen it and they've read it and they've left you unread, you begin to get kind of paranoid. It's like, well, why aren't they replying? What's going on? Am I not important? And you start spiraling. And this is totally natural. This is totally normal. But the problem is once you're doing this in a restaurant, like the damage is being done because you feel like your status is not being appreciated. And the problem is we know what good quality customer service looks like. So even if your service isn't that bad, if it's not great, then you're going to look in comparison worse. And that's when it's going to be a killer. But the other thing on the flip side, the opportunity is like those are easy things to fix. And if you get them right, people won't. Well, they'll stop looking for an alternative because they've found certainty. And people, customers, clients, whoever, they want certainty more than anything. And you'll probably see this in yourself when it comes to like, do you choose your regular order in Starbucks or wherever, or do you try the latest new special? Quite often, when it comes to ordering food and drink, we go back to what we know we like, because we go, well, I know I like that, and the risk of trying something new, and I might not like it, is too great to kind of do. So we have this weird thing of get 3 things wrong, they never come back. Get 3 things right, they will always come back. And in the hotel when I was here, that was a big thing. And we were very, very fixated because we couldn't compete like marketing wise. We focused all on reputation and repeat business. And that's how we were able to be successful, because we put so much effort into it. And what I want you to do is, I'm going to give you a few tips on how you can do that in your business, and you can kind of think about that. So the first thing is that you have to think like a hotel. And by that, I mean you have to anticipate what people are going to want before they know that they want it. And the way to do that is it's really simple, but it's very effective. And this is a good way to start. Is you want to map out the experience of your business, because this is true of anyone. This could be true of builders, accountants, any business. You want to map that out, and you want to look at what is that experience from their point of view. So here, if you think about it, when people arrive, they would arrive, and I used to think the first experience would be checking in at reception, but it's actually not. It's depending on how the directions are. They've probably come on a long journey. And unfortunately, we're at the top of a big slipway. And that slipway, if you're not used to it, is quite intimidating. And I think even there used to be a sign saying not suitable for vehicles. So you've done a massive long journey, you're probably quite tired, and you're greeted with like the Travelator off Gladiators, where you've just got to get up this really steep slipway. You can't stop moving. You might meet a car at the top, and then you've got to take a sharp right at the top and then a sharp left into quite a small courtyard, which has probably got cars in it. And on the edges of the gate post is quite narrow, and there's granite, which is going to destroy your car if you scratch it. So just that arrival alone, looking back, is a nightmare. Then you've got to get your bags, and you've probably got to drag your bags in. So we were kind of quite good at that. So I would always try and offer to, like, they'd pull out the front and I'd repark their car for them, and I'd carry their bags to the room. So what that meant was they wouldn't have to worry about that, the stress of doing all those kind of things. And I was also even so aware that when they arrived, to give them some space. Because the last thing you want, we've all had this, you get out of the car, you're in the middle of a row, and you go, oh, hi, and you have to be nice to the manager or whoever. And that's annoying for everyone, because we know that the person who's waiting to help you has heard the argument, and it's a bit embarrassing, and it's fine. So I'd leave them to cool off steam. I'd say, look, no problem, I'll park your car, I'll help your bags with whatever. And that's the first experience. Now that was the added bit that I learned. And then they would come in, we would check them in, we'd know everything about like kind of what they needed. So if they needed to book in any local restaurants, that was done. If they needed extra bedding or travel cots in the room, that was done. Everything was sorted, and all we had to do was check them in, welcome them by name, let them know the expectations, what time breakfast was, what time checkout was, what to do if they had any questions, any problems. And then we would say, would you like some tea and coffee complimentary in the drawing room or in front of a fire like this? That's how good the fire is. It performs when I do this. Anyway, sorry. And then you do all this. They sit down with like afternoon tea. And our chef Brian made this phenomenal carrot cake, and he made scones as well. And so they would have like, an English cream tea by a nice fire while their bags are taken to their room, and everything is done. And then we would drop that off and let them know their booking is for the restaurant is all sorted, and we can arrange a taxi, and they don't have to worry about anything. And in the room, you would make sure that the heating was on depending on the time of year, or if it was summer and it was hot, the windows were open a little bit for a bit of fresh air. And depending on the time of day, you would put on the lamps so there was a nice atmosphere in the room, so that when later on they left, they went back upstairs, they felt they were looked after and relaxed, and they could just get changed and go for dinner. And that was how you would set the scene to get someone in. And what you found is like that became instinctive and really simple, but there is a lot of planning that goes into that, and it's simply because you're anticipating what they're going to need before they know they need it. And It's the same in your business. All I've talked about there is the car park, the reception area, the drawing room or dining room, which usually it was a drawing room. I can show you that later, and their bedroom. And that's the small bit. They've not seen probably the garden, the kitchen, the dining room, certainly. Like there's other areas that they haven't even seen that they might never see. And so as long as we mastered that, that was key. And so the key to doing that was to live it through the guest's eyes, anticipate everything, and then put in place something of a sort of procedure or process that would help us make sure that it felt effortless. And that was the first step of kind of thinking like a hotel and anticipating what they would need. And it's little things such as when we would take the booking, we'd find out all this information like dietary requirements, did they need special bread or anything like that? And what that meant was you could have all of this prepared in advance. And all of those things which feel quite normal when they're booking, they make such a massive difference when it comes to them arriving. Because if you've got special gluten-free bread, or if you've got the travel cot, or you've booked a restaurant, like a table early at their favourite place, and you've booked the taxi in advance, like all of it feels effortless. And that's what you're trying to get in your business. So if you're trying to do something similar, get someone in your team to walk through, pretend to role play as the guest, and analyze it from the very first moment they like look at your website and make an inquiry to when they arrive and when they leave. And if you map that timeline and you map everything they're going to want and you match the touch points of when they're going to need something from you or when they're going to interact with you, and what that will do is that will give you like a chance to really maximize your customer experience, and it sets the tone early on for doing work with you. And so when you've got this all dialed in, it becomes just a repeatable process and a kind of standard operating procedure, which feels very clinical, but it's absolutely masterful because it gives the impression of being genuine and spontaneous, which it was built upon, but it's also really efficient, so you make sure everyone is doing their job. The best way to think of it is a bit like you go to watch a play and it feels like everyone isn't sort of, perfect, and it feels very natural and you believe it and you suspend your disbelief and you enjoy the story. What you don't see is the months of rehearsals to get to that point where they're really good at it. And that's the way we work. So you've got to see this as kind of practice and rehearsals for when people arrive, the performance is perfect. So to help you get started, if you click the link in the description, I'll send you a guide on how to do this so you can start, putting this into practice in your own business.